A Mother's Love by Joel R. Hunt. Kaylee sits back and admires her work. I peer over my cast to her upside-down signature and squint, trying to make sense of the scribble. "Have you dotted your I with a heart?" I ask. "No," Kaylee says, grimacing at the notion. "I don't draw hearts, Jess. It's a ghost. You should know that." Of course, a few months ago, I made the mistake of admitting in school that my house is haunted. Ever since then, Kaylee, the world's cheeriest goth, has made it her mission for the two of us to become best friends. It's not that I don't like her, but I can never shake the feeling that she's only spending time with me in the hopes of a second-hand haunting. I feel like nothing more than her ticket to a genuine ghost sighting. I wish she knew that the experience isn't all that fun. "What made you fall off your bike anyway?" she asks. "Did one of the ghosts jump out at you?" "No," I say. "I just sort of came off." "Or maybe a ghost pushed you." I laugh and shake my head. That's not how it works. They don't follow me around, they're just in my house. Besides, I don't think they can do things like that. I've never seen them touch anything. "Ah, yes," Kaylee says with a sage nod, as eager as ever to be the expert in the room. "In corporeality, you're not dealing with a poltergeist then. They'd be able to push you off a bike for sure. I suppose it could be a wraith. Do you know whether your house is built on an ancient burial ground?" Ha! I doubt it. Most of the sightings I've had have been little girls. If it was a burial ground, some of the ghosts would be older, wouldn't they? And like half of them would be men. The ghosts are all girls? Are you sure? Kaylee asks. When I nod, her eyes light up. Maybe they were executed in a witch trial. They'd have to be very young witches. Maybe. Seriously, Jess, you have no idea how twisted some of these witch trials were, Kaylee says, jumping over to her bookshelf. They drowned little kids, had other little kids, accusing people all over town. They even killed a couple of dogs they said were possessed. I've got a book that lists every recorded witch execution in North America. We can go through it and see if any of the dead witches are local to us. Her fingers dance towards some particularly dense tomes tucked into the corner. Sensing an impending history lesson, I glance at my watch. Crap, I say. It's almost 5. I need to get home before Mom freaks. "She knows you're with me though, right?" asks Kaylee. "We're only around the corner." You don't know my mom," I say. "She's got major separation anxiety. I'm amazed she let me come here in the first place. If I get home late, she'll probably never let me leave again." "Damn," says Kaylee, returning the book she just pulled from the shelf. "Well, if you see any of the ghosts tonight, ask them if they're witches." "Will do. See you later." I grab my crutches and head out of the door. I'm still not used to walking with one leg in a cast, so it takes a minute or two longer than usual. As I'm turning onto my street, my phone buzzes in my pocket. That's it. I'm officially late. Mom's waiting for me behind the door. The moment I step through, I'm smothered in a tidal wave of hugging. "Oh, my precious baby, my darling, I was so worried. Thank heavens you're home safe and sound." I try to disentangle myself from the embrace, but that only opens me up to a barrage of kisses. "Mom," I say, fending her off. "I'm only 2 minutes late. It's really not a big deal." "Not a big deal?" Mom scoffs. "Do you realise how much can happen within 2 minutes? It didn't take you that long to break your leg now, did it? For all I know, you could have been out somewhere really hurt or dead. And how could I help you then if I didn't know where you were? I smirk as I set my crutches aside and hobble to the sofa. Mom, if I was dead, I don't think you'd be able to help no matter where I was. Don't joke about things like that, she snaps, taking a moment to straightening my crutches up before striding over and sitting next to me. She places a hand on my cast. When I lost your father, there was nothing I could do about it. All that love and no way to put it out to use. I'd never felt so helpless. Since then, I've done everything I can to keep you safe and sound all year round. I finish it off for her. I know, Mum. I'm sure you think it's silly, she says. But if something happened and I couldn't get you back, well, I don't know what I'd do. Mom, don't worry about me, I say, giving her hand a gentle squeeze. I'm not going anywhere. She smiles. I know you're not, she says. As long as you're safe here with me, I'm happy. It's a few minutes before I can extract myself from the sofa on the pretense of doing homework, and I head to my room while Mom makes us dinner. It's slow going, but the doctor said I'd need to practice, otherwise my muscles will be weak by the time the cast comes off. Mom calls me back down when the food's ready, and aside from a few clingy, passive-aggressive remarks about Kaylee's influence on me, my earlier transgression is forgotten. We talk about school and the holiday that Mum's booked for us next month, and I offer to help wash the dishes. It's turned down, but earns me another hugging session for being thoughtful. We spend the rest of the evening watching TV together until it's time for a shower, made awkward by my cast, and bed. After I'm settled under the covers, Mum pops her head round my door, wishes me good night, and retreats to her own room. It's around half an hour later when I hear her pacing the corridor. At first, I presume she's just going to the toilet, but her footsteps, they never get that far. She reaches my door, pauses for a while, then turns and walks back to her room. This cycle repeats several times as a sense of creeping unease takes hold of my chest. Mom? I whisper. The footsteps creak to a stop outside my room, then turn and creak away. I slip out of bed, careful not to put too much weight onto my injured leg, and hobble to the door. When I ease it open, my eyes are drawn to wet patches along the floorboards, gleaming in the moonlight. No, not wet patches. Wet footprints. As if in response, the creaking steps pause outside Mum's room. I realise now that whoever is in our corridor, it's not my mum. Clenching my fists and taking a deep breath, I step out of my room. And there, lurking at the end of the corridor, is a girl, soaked from head to toe, water streaming from matted hair and bloated fingers. She's barely moving, but it seems to be a great effort for her simply to exist. As I watch, her outline ripples like winter's breath against a murky pond, insubstantial, fleeting. I can't get a clear view of her face, but she seems about my age, and when I strain, I can hear her low, incessant mumbling. Mommy, it's so cold down there. I don't like it. Mommy. A chill runs up my arms and my heart beats heavy in my chest. I've seen plenty of apparitions in this house, but this is the first time I've been so close to one. I remind myself of what I told Kaylee. The ghosts in this house, they can't touch me. They can't hurt me. They're just ghosts. I pray that I'm right. Taking a small step forward, I try to speak, but nothing comes out. The girl ignores me, swaying slightly in her growing puddle and muttering without pause. Tell her to give it back, Mummy. I'm cold. Tell her I want it back. My eyes can't agree with what my ears are hearing. The voice is definitely hers. Her swollen lips move with the sound, yet it's muffled and distant, as though there's a solid wall between us. My mind races and I try to recall what Kaylee told me. Something about witches being drowned. This girl certainly looks like she was dredged from the bottom of a lake, and she doesn't seem evil, just lost and scared. I manage another step closer to her. Excuse me, I ask in the smallest voice I've ever mustered. Were you killed for being a witch? The girl stops muttering. She tilts her head to one side, tipping water from her ear to splatter onto the floor. One transparent eye fixes on me, piercing my soul. And she screams. The shrill tone floods the room as if bellowed by some tortured choir. While I'm recoiling from the sound, the ghost lunges at me, sending me reeling backwards. One arm flings out in self-defense, the other flies out to break my fall. A dull thump punches through my injured leg and I sprawl onto the floor. For just a moment, I see the girl's face, bloated, rotten, furious. Then, I'm alone in the corridor, panting and trying to slow my frantic heartbeat. After a few moments, Mum's door wrenches open and her panicked face peers out. She sees me on the floor and is by my side in an instant, helping me sit up and cuddling me tight. Jess, my precious baby, are you hurt? I take a moment to assess myself before I answer. My heart is still racing and my leg feels like it's been trampled on, but nothing seems broken. No, I say, I'm okay. What happened? Did you slip on? Mum's eyes drift to the wet patches on the floor. She lowers her voice. Did you have an accident? Oh, Mum, no, it's water. Oh dear, we must have a leak then. I'll check the roof in the morning. But are you sure you're okay? Why were you out of bed? I take a few steady breaths, looking around for the drowned girl and finding no trace of her, except for the footprints still dotting the floor. I could try to explain the encounter to Mum, but she wouldn't believe me. Despite all the sightings I've had, she won't tolerate any discussion of the supernatural. She doesn't even like me watching horror films. I thought I heard something, I say, but it must have been the wind. Alright, well, let's get you back to bed. Mum practically carries me back to my room, and I'm reduced to an overgrown toddler as she tucks me into bed and lavishes me with goodnight kisses. She does everything she can to make me comfortable before she leaves and turns out the light. None of it helps. I spend the whole night listening out for the creaking footsteps and trying not to see angry, bloated faces in the dark. The next day at school manages to be both a blur and a drag. Through the haze of my tiredness, every period seems to last forever. Yet as soon as each one ends, I can't remember a thing about it. I spend most of my day doodling absent-minded circles in the margins of my paper and thinking about the ghost from last night. None of my teachers bring up my lack of work. They probably think my leg's hurting me, and none of them want to be accused of harassing the injured girl. I'm caught off guard when, in last period, Mrs. Melvin actually acknowledges my existence. "Jess, do you need to be going?" she asks in a gentle voice, as though she's afraid I might shatter if she speaks too loudly. "No, Mrs. Melvin," I say. I'm fine. It's just that it's nearly home time. Don't you need to set off early to avoid the crowd?" "Oh, with my leg, yes, I do." Kaylee nearly jumps out of her seat. "I need to help her, Mrs. Melvin," she says, already swinging her backpack over one shoulder. "I have to carry her stuff for her." Mrs. Melvin pulls a face, but then decides it's not worth the trouble and lets Kaylee come with me. I sweep everything into my backpack and clamber out of my seat, Kaylee already hovering over my shoulder. We're barely out of a classroom door when her interrogation begins. "I was trying to catch your eye all period," she says. "What gives? Is it about the ghost you saw last night?" I jolt upright, more awake than I felt all day. Yes. How did you know?" "Well, you look super tired," she says. "Wow, thanks. I just mean it looks like you had a bad night. I figured it must be the hauntings. Was it a ghost girl again?" I nod, and Kaylee starts to rummage through her backpack. "Interesting," she says. "I went through that book about witches, but I couldn't find any girls killed near us. So it's time to take this to the next stage." She produces a slim but weighty hardcover book and forces it into my hands. The cover gives little away, simply a mottled grey with the faintest sheen. The title, however, gives me an indication of what's inside. Reaching Through the Veil, a practical guide. There's no author's name. "We're going to need to perform a ritual," says Kaylee. "I know pretty much all of the ones we might need for a haunting as straightforward as yours, but we'll need the right components and we'll need to know what type of spirit we're dealing with." My stomach squeezes itself into a tight ball. The thoughts of facing that dripping girl again, or of Mum finding me performing a ritual, are both terrifying. In fact, I'm not sure which scares me more. "Components?" I ask. "That sounds pretty serious." It's nothing too major," says Kaylee. "There's a few herbs and things that can help, but really we could do it all with just candles and chalk. You said your mum keeps candles in case the power goes out, right?" "Yeah, that's true. One of our drawers at home is stashed with enough candles to light up a cathedral." "Perfect," says Kaylee. "So, you supply the candles and I'll bring the chalk. I'll need a few days to prepare and you can use that time to read Reaching Through the Veil and work out what we're dealing with." I nearly ask if it has a specific section on angry drowned girls, but the question sticks in my throat. I'm not sure I want the answer. "Okay," I manage. Kaylee splits off when we reach the end of her street, promising to do some last-minute research so that the ritual will go as smoothly as possible. I do my best to hide my grimace, and then tuck her book into my backpack and hobble the rest of the way home. Mum isn't around when I get inside. I throw my backpack onto the couch and head through to the kitchen, where I found a note on the table. "Jess, I'm out shopping. Hope to be back soon, but it might be after school ends. If you're home before me, do not use the stove, light candles, climb stairs, or answer the door. Stay safe. Love, Mum." Typical. Since breaking my leg, Mum seems to think everything is too dangerous for me. It won't be long before she wants to come to school with me just to make sure I'm safe. I rummage through the fridge for a soda and ease into one of our uncomfortable kitchen chairs. If Mum knew I was on a mission to banish an angry ghost from our house, she'd have a fit. I chuckled to myself at the thought of her reaction. As if on cue, the front door opens and Mum's voice calls out, "Jen, are you home?" "In the kitchen, Mom," I shout back. She places down her shopping bags and comes to inspect me, unloading a barrage of concern. "Are you all right? How did school go? Did anyone bash your leg? You look tired. Have you been worrying about something? Did you eat your lunch?" I ease out of her grip and put on what I hope is a reassuring smile. "I'm fine, Mom. You don't need to worry so much. I can survive on my own for a few hours, you know." Do you want help with the groceries?" "Oh, you can help put them away if you don't mind. I'll get the bags. I don't want you carting them about with your leg." There's more than I was expecting, and it's not long before the kitchen is half filled with bags. I put the frozen food away first, then the chilled, and then work my way through the rest based on whatever's closest to me. Buried at the bottom of one bag, I find a pack of 10 candles, long white ones that would look at home on a church altar. I try to put them in the candle drawer, but there are already so many that the new pack won't fit. "Mom," I say as she drops off the last bag, "why do you keep buying these? Do you have shares in a candle company or something?" "Oh, you never know when you might need candles, Jess," she says. "I guess," I say, though I don't see when we'd ever need this many candles. Once everything is packed away, Mom starts preparing dinner, and I collapse onto the couch just to watch some TV. Most of the interesting channels are blocked in my house, so I zone out to some quiz show which seems to consist mostly of idiots setting off flashing lights. I expect Mum to call me through when dinner's ready, but she brings it in on a tray so I can eat it at the couch. "I don't want you using your leg when you don't have to," she says. "Thanks, Mom." After we're both finished eating, Mum comes to join me on the couch, reeling of suggestions of some very tame films we can watch together. My backpack is still on the other seat, so she moves it as she sits down. As it hits the floor, it tips over, and Kaylee's book slides out through the half-open zipper. I reach down to put it back, but Mum's hand lashes out and plucks up the book. She turns to me with a look of horror and fury. "What on earth are you doing with a book like this?" she snaps. "It's from school," I say automatically, caught off guard by the strength of her reaction. Mum scoffs. "I doubt your school is handing out this sort of occult nonsense to children. You got it from that Kaylee girl, didn't you? I knew she was no good." "Mom, it's not. I'll have to have a word with her parents." "This isn't something you should be messing with, Jess. This supernatural stuff is dangerous." "I haven't actually read it," I say. "Good," says Mom. "Let's keep it that way." She stands and strides over to a liquor cabinet in the corner of the room. Fishing out the key, she unlocks the cabinet and slides Kaylee's book right to the back. "Mom, don't," I say, half rising from the couch. Mum says nothing as she closes the cabinet door, but she doesn't lock it. Instead, she sucks in a breath and leans against the wood. The two of us are silent for a moment, until I force myself to stand. "Are you all right, Mum?" She nods, but her grimace of pain betrays her. "Are you getting another migraine?" I ask. "Oh, it's absolutely unholy," she says. "I can hardly see straight." My dismay at her overreaction trickles away and guilt takes its place. Whenever we argue over something like this, a migraine usually isn't far behind. If I'd have just taken the book to my room, she probably wouldn't have been hit by one. I'll get your pills, I say. Middle cupboard? Top shelf? She nods, and I head to the kitchen and root through the cupboard, brushing aside vitamin supplements, diet pills and rash creams. Eventually, I concede defeat. There aren't any of your pills here, I call over my shoulder. We must have had some before I went shopping, she says. Otherwise they'd have been on my list. I must have put them in the basement. Oh, where's the key? I'll go get them for you. Nonsense, Mum snaps, struggling out of the living room and filling the kitchen doorway. You know that the basement is off limits at the best of times. I'm not about to let you stumble down there with a cast on your leg. Those stairs are dangerous. She fishes the key from the bowl by the door and heads down towards the basement. I hear the door unlock, creak open, and lock again behind her. I hover in the kitchen, but as I'm waiting, I catch sight of the liquor cabinet. Mom forgot to lock it. I bite my lip, tap my feet, then creep as gently as I can past the basement door. I hear Mom talking to herself on the other side, no doubt asking herself where she left her pills. I need to be quick. Once I'm past the door, I rush over to the cabinet and pluck out, reaching through the veil, and stash it behind the couch cushion where I'd been sitting. I lock the cabinet again before returning to the kitchen. As soon as I step onto the tiled floor, I hear the second round of unlocking, creaking and locking from the basement door. And Mum joins me in the kitchen now for a glass of water. She takes her pills and leans against the sink while I try to distract her with idle chatter. I need to lie down, she says eventually. Will you be all right without me for a few hours? Of course, Mum, I say. I'll only be upstairs. Yes, Mum. Wake me up if there's any problem at all. I will, Mum. After a few dozen more assurances that it'll be safe for her to leave my side, Mum reluctantly slouches upstairs to collapse on her bed. Her pills always make her sleepy, so I know she won't be coming back downstairs anytime soon. And since it's not a school night, there's nothing stopping me from staying up late and getting a start on Kaylee's book. It's not how I wanted to spend my evening, but after Mum's outburst earlier, I'm resolved to give Reaching Through the Veil back to Kaylee tomorrow before Mum can take it away again. And that means reading it tonight. I change into my pyjamas, make myself a hot chocolate and settle down on the couch, peering upstairs just in case, but seeing nothing. I retrieve the book from behind the couch cushions and lay it across my lap, studying the cover again. I can't help but wonder how Mum realised so quickly what it contained. There's no ghoulish imagery, no indication at all of the supernatural, and the silvery title's reference to the veil could as easily be referring to weddings as hauntings. Inside the book was a different story. Grotesque illustrations and detailed diagrams of the occult feature on every page. Headings in a bold, spidery font announce a host of unsettling topics, from exsanguination and human sacrifice to seances and resurrection. One diagram in particular grates across my skin. Beneath the paragraph about stopping the passage of souls, an illustration of a circle star with 13 points dominates the page. It reminds me of the posters Kaylee has in her room. Symbols she refers to as summoning circles. None of them make me feel like this one does. I'm sure I've never seen it before in my life, but it plucks at my soul like a splinter that won't come out. My hands shake. Sweat runs down my temple. My teeth clamp so tight I can feel the strain through my skull. I slam the book closed. That's when I hear the whispering. It's so quiet that at first I think I might have imagined it. I wonder if it's the wind, or the branches of a tree scraping against the house, and then I hear it again. Definitely a word, though too hushed for me to make sense of it. It sounds like it's coming from the basement. "Mom?" I call out. Mom's voice trickles down the stairs in a bleary, half-sleeping reply. She must still be under the effects of the migraine pills, and if she's in her room, then the whispering can't be coming from her. I hobble towards the basement door, pausing to watch it before I get too close. When it doesn't burst open to reveal an angry ghost, I cross the last of the distance and press my ear against it. I strain to lock onto the whispering sound. There's nothing but the wind and my own breathing. Perhaps I had imagined it after all, or not turned the TV off properly. Then as I pull away, I catch a muffled noise, something between a laugh and a sob. "Who's down there?" I hiss. I want to sound commanding, but the wavering of my voice betrays my fear. In response, the voice dips as if uncertain of itself before returning louder than before. This time it's accompanied by what might be an echo or a second speaker. There's no doubt about it. Either the ghosts are back, or there are people in our basement. Either way, I can't simply walk away from this. I limp to the kitchen, turning on each light as I go, as if that might keep me safe from ill-meaning spirits. I pluck the basement key from the bowl on the worktop and thrust it in front of me like a dagger. Moving out of the kitchen takes an enormous effort of willpower, but once I'm moving, I don't dare stop. I approach the door as fast as my cast allows me and slam the key into the lock. I twist it, step back, and swing open the door. Light from the hallway streams down the stairs, quickly consumed by a darkness that's reluctant to be disturbed. Beyond the first 5 or so steps, I can barely make out any details within the basement. If something down there was making that noise, there are plenty of places they could be hiding in. With one hand clasping the door in case I need to slam it closed, I allow my eyes to adjust to the darkness. Shapes materialize in the dim outskirts of the room. A water heater, a stack of cardboard boxes, a rug placed in the centre. Wait, that's not a rug. The circular shape is drawn directly onto the concrete in white paint or maybe chalk. All the heat leaves my body as, inside the circle, I count 13 points of a star. Why would Mom have a diagram from reaching through the veil in our basement? It's the kind of feature I'd expect from horror films. Standing here and staring into the dark, I now feel like I'm in one. As I peer deeper into the gloom of the basement, something at the edge of my vision shifts. I stifle a scream and suppress the urge to flee. The only thing that prevents me is the promise of Kaylee's ritual. If I want to put these ghosts to rest, I need to know what they are. Who they were. Is anyone down there? I managed to ask. "Mommy?" a voice replies. "Is that you?" The voice prickles my skin from head to toe. It's soft, barely a sigh, but it carries with it a coldness that seeps into my body and settles there. It has an unnervingly familiar tone to it as well, which I can't quite place. "I'm not your mummy," I say. Then, because the voice sounds so young and lost, I feel compelled to add, "Do you need help?" "Help?" The voice echoes. The sound is picked up throughout the room, repeated over and over in that desolate tone. Help, 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 help. With each echo, and from every corner of the basement, softly glowing girls emerge. They're hard to make out at first, but they seem emboldened by my attention, and as I watch, their outlines grow more substantial. Some I can see are my age, others are barely toddlers. Without exception, each of them is mutilated or disfigured, with skulls broken open or burnt, skin peeling away. They stare at me with hauntingly empty eyes, those that still have them, and their ghostly pleas claw up the stairs towards me. Mommy, take me back. I don't like it here. The unbearable sorrow in their voices is far from the worst part. As I turn from face to mournful face, I realize that I know these ghosts. These girls, every single one of them, from the smallest burn victim to the tallest amputee, is me. They know it too. In the faces of the older girls, those who could pass as my twins, sadness melts away, being replaced by an unnatural fury. Torn and bloated faces twist into snarls, and they begin to leave the huddled mass of suffering for the stairs leading towards me. Now the sobbing whispers have morphed into something much worse. Thief! Return it! I want it back! As the closest of the spirits passes from the darkness to the light, I stagger away and slam the door. It does nothing to muffle those accusing voices. I only just hear Mum's voice call from upstairs, asking what caused the bang. Acting on instinct, I stumble from the hall towards the stairs, hoping to somehow escape the haunting mockeries of myself and find refuge in the safety of my mother's arms. Every moment the voices sound closer. If I was free of my damned cast, I might be able to outrun them. But I feel as though I'm wading through treacle. It takes an eternity to cross the living room, and then, step by agonizing step, I lurch up the stairs. I try to keep ahead of those awful whispers, but the further I go, the closer they sound, as if they're drawn to me. My leg is throbbing before I get halfway up, slipping as though struggling to find purchase, but I can't stop. Through the banisters I spot movement. I feel a cold prickling across my back. I haul myself up faster, ignoring the agony of each jolt to my broken leg. The whispers seem to be coming from within my skull. They drown out every thought I have except for my desperation to reach Mom, and at last I make it to the top of the stairs. I come face to face with myself waiting there. It's not the first time I've seen this version of myself. The girl from the corridor stands inches away. Water streams down her hair and bubbles from her mouth. Her skin is bloated and patched with mold. Her eyes bulge out, glaring and hateful. Before I can utter a sound, her dripping hand lashes towards my face. Give it back! I scream, leap away. Too late, I realize that there is nothing behind me. I scramble for purchase that none of my limbs can find, and then I'm falling back, my world spinning around me. The first impact slams my head and back. The second sends a stabbing shock through my leg and snaps something in my arm. After that, I lose track, sensing only an endless bombardment of agony through my body. It ends as soon as it began, jolting to a stop with a terrifying crunch. I can only lie there in a tangle of my own limbs and wonder how I'm still alive. The pain in my neck is excruciating, but the rest of my body is numb. So much so I wonder if it's even attached. I try to lift my head, raise my arms. Nothing happens. An icy dread takes over my thoughts. I can't move. I can't speak. I can barely breathe. Something creaks at the top of the stairs. All I can do is stare into the living room, silently screaming. Footsteps descend towards me. I try to crawl away with every ounce of willpower I have. Not even my fingertips move. The footsteps stop, and I feel a presence standing over me. "Oh, clumsy girl," says Mum. "Not this again." My world blurs, shifts, fades into nothing. When I wake up, I find myself staring up at a ceiling I don't recognize. Shadows dance across it, cast by flickering candlelight from a dozen sources. Mum fills the rest of my view, huddled over me, clasping my head with one hand while she strokes my hair with the other. It sticks to her blood-coated fingers like an extension of her skin. "My beautiful baby," she coos. "Don't worry, my precious beautiful baby. You'll be back in one piece soon, I promise." I try to speak. Bone presses into my throat and only a croaking rasp emerges. Mum shushes me and cradles my head. "Not long now," she whispers. "Not long, my perfect baby." I still can't move, but as my eyes drift desperately around the room, they land on a set of stairs leading up to a familiar door. The gentle drifting and quiet whispers of a dozen ghosts confirms my realization. We're in the basement, and I've been placed at the center of a painted circle. As if on cue, the candles extinguish themselves one by one, filling the air with an acrid scent. Mum places my head down onto the concrete, stands and wipes her hands on her clothes, smearing them with my blood. "It's time," she says. With a brief, sympathetic glance, she marches out of my vision. I hear her footsteps ring through the basement, and she reappears near the top of the stairs. As she reaches the door, Mum turns. Her smile coddles me like a newborn baby. "Let yourself go, my sweet," she sings. "Soon you'll wake up in your bed as good as new, like you always do." I feel my dead selves pressing in around me, sapping the last of my warmth. I try with all my might to cry out. Something shifts painfully in my throat, and I manage to make a pitiful noise. Ma. My dying rasp is taken up by ghostly voices throughout the basement. "Mommy, don't leave me here. I'm so cold, Mommy." Mum presses a hand to her heart and gives me a final, lingering stare. "Don't worry, my precious baby," says Mum. "I'll never let you die." With a loving smile, she closes the door and plunges us into darkness. The cold presses closer around me. "Mom?" "It's so dark. Please," I rasp. "I'm cold. Mommy, Mom?
Do you still love me?
Mom? Come back!
I'm cold. Do you still love me? Mom?
Mom?
Miss you.
I miss you.